Foreign Filmcast, episode 9. It is before midnight, May 21. We're a little groggy, but we got to pump out this podcast before we go to bed. We just saw Before Midnight. This is the part 3. Started in 95 with a story about 94 with Before Sunset, and the sequel 9 years later, Before Sunset. This is 18 years later. We saw the film this evening. I think it was a digital projection. This is directed by Richard Linklater, and writing credits are shared by Linklater, Ethan Hawke, and Julie Delpy. Ethan Hawke, Julie Delpy. These are our stars. Trace, let me get your reaction. What'd you think?
I thought it was a very concise movie, and it picked up right where it left off.
So would you recommend this to fans? Fans of the first two, should they see part 3?
Of course. Absolutely. You can't not see it. You can't skip it.
Fans of part 1 and 2, they're going out.
Right.
They want to take a friend. Can they take a friend?
Of course.
That has not seen parts 1 and 2?
Yeah, well, I mean, there were a lot of people there tonight that this was the first time they even saw anything of this.
That's true. I was surprised about that. Paul, what was your reaction?
It's a good movie. I had said last time that
The trailer.
That why did they make a third? But you know, they've progressed, and it's interesting. So it's a good third. I think it's a good sequel, and I think it's well acted. I think anybody can go to it.
Well written.
Interested, and then they would probably go back and watch the first two.
I know.
To fill in what happens. So it's a good movie. I like it.
I liked it too. I did not like it as well as, well, I fell in love with part 1, so that's you never match your first love. I'll talk about more of this in the spoilers. Again, I think I enjoy the writing style. They have very long scenes with lots of dialogue. It's generally a very realistic acting style.
Indeed.
I enjoy the European locales.
It's basic. It exactly follows the same format as the first two, I think.
I think it's quite different.
Really?
There's some differences in this one, but
here you have a lot more characters involved.
Yes.
I feel like the dialogue is more related to plot and furthers there are more plot points.
Yeah, there's a lot of progression, right?
And that's partly because of what we will be describing in the spoiler section.
Right.
Is there anything else you want to say before we spoil the hell out of this?
I just highly recommend it for all ages, and you have to see this. If you're a fan, you have to see this.
I agree that I didn't like this as much as the other movies. But
really?
I think I liked the second one best.
Are you serious?
Not the first one.
Okay, no. For me, this was hands down the best of the 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
All right, anything left? All right, spoil 1, 2, 3. Spoiler. Part 1, we had Vienna, boy, girl, meet on a train, get off the train together, walk around all night, kind of almost fall in love. They want to see each other again. They plan to see each other in 6 months. Doesn't work out. Ethan Hawke goes back, but Julie Delpy's not there. Kind of a bummer. He goes all the way from the USA, and happens to be that Julie is at her grandmother's funeral in Budapest. Part 2, Ethan Hawke has written a novel based on this experience. Julie Delpy goes out to see him at the Writers' Q&A at the Shakespeare and Company bookstore in Paris. They hang out for about 80 minutes, at least that's what I remember, that the movie's 80 minutes and it's supposed to be shot in real time. At the end of that movie, they're both in Julie Delpy's apartment, and Julie Delpy says something like, "You're going to miss your plane," and he says something like, "I know."
Actually, it's quote unquote, "Baby, you're going to miss that plane," while she's playing Nina Simone in Time.
Very good.
Thank you.
Part 3 starts off a little different. We start in an airport. It's Ethan Hawke with his son. He's seeing him off. It starts out with Ethan doing most of the talking and his kids giving him the one-word answers. And then toward the end of the scene, his son gets a little more talkative, says he's had the best summer ever. Ethan's saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go out. I'm going to see your recital. Keep up the piano. You're awesome. Keep up the soccer." His son's kind of seems to have his own plans, not kind of the same. Not really interested in pursuing soccer anymore, and tells his dad, "Do me a favor, don't come to the recital. Stresses me out because you and Mom don't get along," and just makes things pretty crappy for me.
Well, a lot of time has passed. because you get this feeling that they've had a really a bi-coastal kind of father-son relationship, and he gets them in times here and there, like summer vacation, like Christmas break, etc. So it's a bit of a strained relationship. And what I found really really sad about this is a little bit of how he describes his own relationship with his father or his parents in the first movie. Growing up, how he talks about how his childhood was. It's kind of like really sad because his son is falling in the same pattern than he did. He didn't want that.
I enjoyed the way they gave a surprise. After scene 1 with the son, Ethan Hawke walks outside, and there's Julie waiting for him by the car with their twin daughters. I thought it was a fun way of introducing the fact that they've been together for 9 years and have kids together.
Twins.
Then we get something, I don't know, like 25 minutes of them driving, right?
It's cute.
Right.
And their banter's the same. They just marvel about, they just did a recap of their vacation and what's going on and just the mundane life of In-N-Out.
Then we see the Greek villa. They've been invited to this Greek villa owned by a
great writer.
A writer.
Yes.
And it looks pretty fantastic. It's on the water. They have a scene in the kitchen. All the ladies are prepping the food. Then they have a meal scene. No, before the meal scene, they have a lake scene where Ethan Hawke's talking about his hypothesis for his next book idea, where all his characters are going to have some major neurologic defect. Like one person has some sort of chronic deja vu.
And it's in his ideas. He's still an idea man. You see that he's still an idea man because he was just the same exact way when he met Julie on the first movie on the train. He was, breaking out with all his crazy stories and his ideas. And here it's cute to see the continuity of that.
Then we have I guess it's a dinner scene. They talk about romance and the idealism of romance and how we should be more practical now. Then it ends up with an older woman at the table. After everyone else is saying, that romantic idealism is kind of silly, this elderly woman, I can't tell if she's Greek or French.
Well,
she tells her story about missing her husband, about simple things, about the way his arm would cover her at night.
You have to actually show that there's all kinds of guests at the table of all ages. There's a young couple, there's a middle-aged couple, there's them, and then there's an elderly couple who both have lost their spouses. So basically, you go through, each one of them describes their phase or their stage of love and how they met, and they all have a little story.
According to my memory, one couple there has gifted Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke a night at a local hotel. They say, it's just too much trouble. We'd rather just pack away. Then they go to the hotel. It looks like the beginning of a sex scene. Julie Delpy's now topless.
It almost happened.
Looks like magic is about to happen.
They're going to get it on.
They keep talking. And then they argue, and then they argue more, and then they kind of cool off, and then Julie Delpy steps out of the room, and then she steps back in the room, and it's back and forth, and then eventually they get to a point where they're just kind of throwing verbal daggers.
Well, they're getting to the meat of the marriage, because in the first two movies, you see it's all about the romance and the ideal of the romance, and in this movie, you really, really, really get to the meat of the marriage and the relationship.
I did leave out that they did have a lovely walk, and that discussion was pretty decent. In general, it showed a positive relationship, positive connection.
And it took them back in time too, because I guess through the mundane, ins and outs of a marriage, I guess you see how you lose yourself. And here they're walking through some ruins, and it's like them again, like in Vienna and in Paris, they're exploring the city, and they're still continuing that whole banter.
So at the end of the massive fight, Julie Delpy says, "I don't think I love you anymore."
Oh my God.
We're just getting a glimpse of them here. We haven't seen them for 9 years. So for all I know, she says that every third month, every third week. I have no idea.
Oh, come on. A girl never says, I think I don't love you. I mean, that's just like when it's like the end.
She's a pretty neurotic character.
I know, but...
In the last episode, she was also...
You can gauge it by his reaction. His reaction was he was heartbroken. He looked like crestfallen. He looked devastated when she said that. Like it looked like that was the first time she ever said that.
Well, I honestly couldn't tell whether they have this kind of argument every 2 months.
Honestly, I disagree with that statement. I think that it looked like they've been through that already, probably hundreds of times.
Yeah, I don't love you.
I don't love you, and he just like whatever, and he just sort of like.
What?
And then he figures out what he needs to do to get her back.
Anything in particular that made you feel that way, or was it just a gestalt?
And what I saw was that a guy who thought about, he got he was exasperated with the conversation, which that means that he's already been through it already.
Oh yeah,
And and the fact that he comes back, with a little plan to get her back.
I disagree, man. The way he just, I don't know, the way that his eyes were, just the way that he looked, the way that he was staring at, when she left the room after she said that. There were 2 wine, glasses at the table. There was a bed that they almost got it on with. Their passion, play. It was all kaput. And basically,
right, he wanted to have sex instead of fighting.
Well, sex helps.
All right, so regardless, Julie Delpy heads down to have, I don't even remember if she's having a drink. She's at a table by the water.
She's sitting by herself.
She's down away from the room. He goes to chase her, and he comes in. He's trying to lighten things up. He comes in and says, hey, I'm here from the future.
Time traveler.
I'm here to save you. I'm a time traveler. Got this letter from you, age 82, to you today, and I'm here to save you. And he starts playing this up, and she's like, oh.
She's not having any of that.
So after a couple of minutes, she hears him out. And then after she hears him out, she kind of tears it to shreds again and said that, she's not going to mellow out.
Well, she wants to keep it real, and she wants to keep, she's really angry, number one. And then, of course, she wants to stay on topic. And he wants to take it to the whole, the writer, lighten things up and keep the whole tone of brevity, which it isn't. It's a pretty heavy moment. It's probably, I think, the heaviest, moment in the movie.
So she gives her little silent treatment for pregnant pause. And then she starts being sweet again. And that's the movie, right?
Well, I think, he mentions that. He kind of said, hey, I'm trying to make something work between us, and that if you can't handle it and you don't want to do that, But he said something like,
No. He says,
I give up,
No. He says, he tells her to her straight, because basically this is, down to the bone. This is the bones of the relationship. But you see it unraveling, and he's telling her, honey, this is true love. I love you. I've always loved you. And this is what you get. If you want some fairy tale, if you want some Cinderella, then I don't know what's wrong with you here. La 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 la. I love you.
Let me get your opinion on something. My opinion is that these characters are not balanced. Obviously, they both have pros and cons, but in my opinion, they make Jessie more attractive than, what's her name?
Celine, come on.
She's just way too neurotic. She's painful. She's painful to watch, painful to listen to.
This is a guy's perspective, obviously.
Okay, so you disagree. You think that her character is just as attractive.
I think both of them are flawed characters. Neither one of them is perfect. Neither of them.
I already gave you that. Already admitted
I'm just telling you that. I'm telling you how it is. They're flawed. I don't think one is better than the other. I do think she's neurotic. She's always been neurotic. She hasn't changed. She's still the same.
Okay, so you think they're pretty balanced. What do you think?
I don't know about balance, but honestly, they're true to themselves.
It's hard to distinguish. I think Ethan Hawke does come off more attractive, but you wonder. See, it's always a backstory.
Who would you rather spend 2 hours with?
But wait a second. The problem
Come on, it's a guy.
The problem is this: that maybe all her complaints are true. That maybe she does babysit and take care of everything. And he is maybe he is loafs around and stuff.
That could be, but I'm talking about the glimpses we get.
But I'm saying, glimpses
we get.
I'm saying you're right that how she acts is she's always a little what do you call it, shrill, and she's always defensive and attacking.
Just like in episode 2, I gotta get out of this limousine.
Well, she did a little bit in the first one, and then the second one more.
The first one, she was pretty chill.
She did have a couple moments to, she got mad.
It just shows her progression, and think about it. You're immature, then you middle, and then now you're 2 kids. There's been a lot of drama, and especially in how the last one ended.
So overall, my opinion on this one is I didn't like it as well, mainly because I prefer a little more romantic view, even though it's probably more unrealistic.
This is real, baby.
This has brought way too much crap at the table.
That's marriage, I guess.
Well, the thing is, they're not even married, right?
No, but they're not technically married. But I mean,
they're just not married.
They're not married.
Technically, they're not married, but they have 2 kids. Basically, they're in a partnership. a lifelong
Yeah,
partnership.
they're just not married.
They don't have a piece of paper.
They don't have a piece of paper bonding them, but they can break up any moment
Right.
without any kind of legal
Right, no legal ramifications.
Yeah, I have total respect for their approach to the movie. This is very different in that each of the first two times, we are basically seeing their entire interaction. First one, we see the whole night from meeting until they leave each other. Then we see them 9 years later. So we're seeing their whole story unfold in front of us. So it's a great mechanism for them to summarize their entire state of mind. Where here it has to be a little bit more contrived because they know each other and they don't have to give these revelatory statements that are good for a movie. They wouldn't say, "Oh, remember my mom who married XYZ and Uncle Sam who did XYZ." So they have to kind of regurgitate history to make sense of things.
But she did that a few times.
Yeah, she did that.
She brought up people that she never told him about, and I'm like,
lots of things.
that's like kind of strange to come up with after 9 years of being with each other.
No, 9 years of being together, but they knew each other way from them before
funny,
then.
Yeah, they're trying to do it for them. It's for the movie, right? They're trying to compress all this stuff into one day.
Yeah, I know.
Did you how did you like the arty stuff about it? Didn't you think it was kind of arty when they brought in all this symbolism in the back about the eye?
The
Byzantine.
When they went to the chapel.
The Byzantine chapel.
And of course, he wanted to get married. Apparently, right?
He's always wanted to get married, but she never believed in marriage.
Never believed in marriage. And then they talk about the eye, which is also the story.
The book.
The book that she was reading in the first movie.
In the train.
The story of the eye.
Right.
I didn't pick that up.
Which may have been, kind of bringing back.
It's a reference there. It's definitely
I think there's
symbolic.
some references. I think didn't they talk about some like eroticism
in the chapel?
Some place in other places too. I think that they're talking about. They're kind of alluding to the books that she read, not so much what he was reading.
Right.
I don't think the Kloskinski thing came up.
All right, two more things that bothered me. One, lots of F word. It wasn't necessary to me. I don't think it added for me. I think
Really?
it was too much. No.
What F word? I don't remember.
Okay.
Remind me.
There was a few times they said it.
Both of them?
I bet you they said it 25 times.
But I think that, in the fight,
I wasn't
they probably
counting.
said it a lot.
I wasn't counting. I was just.
It kind of went with the fight, I thought. But
it's probably
It was relevant.
I don't use it as much as they do, so that's probably why it bothered me. And then the other thing was, in part one, when they have sex, they don't show it. And I prefer that. But here, they're about to... She's topless, and then she ends up being topless for like 5 minutes while they have an argument. It's kind of funny, but it.
What bothered you about it?
To me, it takes away.
But it's real. It's reality. I mean, that happens. It's not
I prefer the approach from the first one. I'm sure many people prefer this approach, but it completely takes away all the mystery and the romanticism, and I prefer the more romantic.
But it was meant to take away the romanticism because she's naked and she gets a phone call on the cell phone. She takes it. It's artistic. It's intended, and
and I like it less.
And it's artistically done, and there's a purpose why that is. Yeah. It's not just for. It's not gratuitous.
But it's just like what Jonathan said. He prefers it another way, and other people like it the other way.
Well, I understand, but I'm just telling you, I disagree.
Would you prefer part one to show the sex? They had sex twice. Would you prefer to see that?
I don't care.
I think it was better without showing it.
I don't really care.
No,
I think it's fine as is. It doesn't make an iota to me.
I wish there was more. I wish I knew more that there was sex because I thought. There was no sex.
That's why you guys idealize
That's right,
it.
in the second
you
one,
don't. You guys idealize
we did it. Twice,
it.
So I was like, whoa, okay.
You idealize that there is. Well, you idealize that it's a platonic relationship. They didn't touch each other. Come on, guys.
Yeah, they talk about oral sex a lot. It is more than I needed, but.
Yeah. That's one that kind of surprised me.
You just blame it on the Greeks.
Obviously, I don't know.
Well, basically, think about the scene. It's all the Greeks, all those perverts, and it's all this stuff.
She's French.
Yeah. No. But at the table when they're talking about, all the,
All right, it's getting late.
No. He made allusions to her of blowing somebody constantly over and over.
Yeah, that's him. I thought you were talking about her.
10 after midnight. Going to sleep.
Yes. Thank you.
Give me your thumbnail.
My thumbnail is what, like
Capsule.
Okay, good movie. I think anybody who wants to see a good dialogue and good storylines and some thoughtful have some thoughts into it, like what do you got, a philosophy of life and whatever.
There's a lot of philosophy.
Anybody can they can watch it, and it's a good movie. Not as good as I believe the second one. I think the second one's the best. But all three are very good, so I recommend them.
Hands down for me, this one's the best, and I'm looking forward to the fourth because I do believe the way this movie ended, there'll probably be an after midnight. So
It's possible.
Everybody
Before noon, I guess.
shut up. Everybody go see this.
So I don't think everybody needs to see it. For example, my parents, I don't think they need to see it. But if you're more open to lots of F words and, this is a very indie.
Gosh.
No, I'm just telling you, my parents wouldn't enjoy this. They're conservative.
If they saw the first
No,
two.
they would enjoy the first one. They would not enjoy this one.
Oh, okay.
So, but if you like indie movies, a little more gritty, more balanced view with all the pros and cons and goods and bads. This is a non-glossy view of what marriage would be like, even though they're not married. I think check it out if you've seen 1 and 2, definitely. If you haven't, I would say start with part 1 and see what you think. If you like part 1, see part 2. If you like those, keep going.
Or be experimental and start from 3 to 1 or anywhere, because you really don't need to see it in
I say
chronological
go in sequence.
order.
All right, foreignfilmcast@gmail.com. Paul?
Look for Trace and Jonathan to make comments to me.
Yeah, we don't know. It's a mystery. Rip or something, you can guess.
Uh-huh.
Trace?
Of course, Trace 700 at AOL.
All right, guys, thanks for staying up late. Ciao.